2 former number 1 picks. 29 points apiece. 1 trophy. And by the time the final buzzer sounded in Indianapolis, half the basketball world was arguing that the box score was lying to them. Stay with me, because this is not a highlight reel. This is a breakdown of exactly how 2 completely different basketball minds pushed each other to the edge of their own greatness, and how one of them found a gear the other one couldn't answer, even while producing the identical final number. By the end of this video you'll understand why 29 and 29 might be the most misleading tie in recent WNBA memory, and why the fourth quarter turned this from a great regular season game into something people are going to be talking about for years. If you care about this rivalry even a little bit, don't go anywhere. The middle of this video is where it gets genuinely wild. And if you're new here, hit subscribe now, because we break games down like this every single week, and you do not want to miss the next one. The setup nobody saw coming. Let's set the scene properly, because the way this game started is not the way it ended, and that gap is the whole story. Indiana hosted Dallas at Gainbridge Fieldhouse with real stakes attached. The Fever were fighting to reclaim the top spot in their conference standings, chasing the Atlanta Dream, riding a stretch where they'd won 8 of their previous 10 games. Dallas, meanwhile, walked in short-handed, missing key rotation pieces, leaning almost entirely on the shoulders of one 23-year-old guard to keep them competitive. That guard was Paige Bueckers. And for the first quarter and a half of this basketball game, she was, without exaggeration, the only functioning offense on the floor for either team. Here's what most people don't realize when they glance at a stat line after the fact: this game did not open as a shootout. It opened ugly. Cold. Both offenses were struggling to find rhythm, and Caitlin Clark, the player everybody assumed would set the tone, took only a handful of shots in that entire opening quarter. She wasn't dominating. She was searching. Paige wasn't searching. Paige was hunting. Paige Bueckers puts Dallas on her back. Watch what happens when a team has nowhere else to turn. Dallas couldn't generate offense around their star, so instead of waiting for a teammate to bail them out, Bueckers became the offense herself. And this is the part that matters more than any single stat: this has always been the fair criticism of her game. Not whether she has the skill, nobody who's ever watched her questioned that, but whether she'll consistently demand the ball when her team desperately needs her to be the aggressor. On this night, in a building that was not friendly to her, without one of her top teammates available, she answered that question as clearly as you can answer it on a basketball court. She wasn't hunting threes from 5 feet behind the line to manufacture chaos. She was getting into that mid-range pocket, the space modern defenses are often willing to concede because they'd rather protect the rim and the three-point arc. And that is exactly where Bueckers is most dangerous. She got defenders leaning. She created just enough separation. And possession after possession that looked completely dead turned into a clean look. By the time she was finished, Bueckers had put together one of the best individual efforts of her career: 29 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and, according to the numbers crunched afterward, a hand in exactly half of everything Dallas scored that night. Half. On a night her team was already down bodies. Her shooting percentage wasn't flashy. It didn't need to be. When a star is shooting 50% and every miss still feels like a formality because you know the next shot is going in, that's not an efficiency stat, that's a psychological weapon. Indiana could defend for 15-18 seconds, force Dallas into their second or third option, and Bueckers would still rise up over a contest late in the clock and erase every second of that defensive work. That is why, whatever happened next, nobody should reduce this performance to "she lost." Paige Bueckers was doing exactly what elite players are supposed to do when their team has nothing else. She took on the burden of the difficult shot, over and over, and she made enough of them to keep a short-handed roster inside a game they had no business being inside of. But here's the twist. While Paige was solving Indiana's defense one possession at a time with pure shot-making, something was quietly shifting on the other end of the floor. And it wasn't loud. It wasn't obvious. Not yet. The shift nobody noticed until it was too late. Caitlin Clark started cold. Genuinely cold. Early in the game she went ice cold from three-point range, missing shot after shot, the kind of stretch that would make a lot of high-volume shooters start second-guessing themselves, pulling back, looking for the safer read instead of the aggressive one. She didn't pull back. Instead of treating a cold start as a reason to disappear, Clark started attacking downhill. If Dallas extended out to respect her jumper, she blew right past them to the rim. If they sat back to protect the paint, she pulled up into that mid-range window herself. And if a second defender ever came to help, which, against Caitlin Clark, they almost always do, that meant someone else on the floor was about to get a wide-open look. This is the part of superstar gravity that never shows up cleanly on a stat sheet. It's not just about a shot going in. It's about a defender being forced to react to a threat before the ball has even moved. Watch the possessions where Clark drives and kicks it out. The defense was already collapsing before she made her final decision, because nobody wanted to be the one who let her get downhill unchecked. That hesitation is worth points, even on possessions where Clark's own name never touches the scoreboard. And then, after missing her first 5 three-point attempts of the night, she pulled up and drilled a step-back triple to cut the deficit to 1 point. Think about what that shot actually means. Going cold from deep can rattle almost any shooter alive. The easy, understandable response is caution: take one fewer pull-up, hesitate half a second longer, hunt the safer pass instead. Clark did the opposite. She kept firing. And once that sixth attempt dropped, every single decision Dallas defense had made up to that point got thrown back into question. You cannot sag off a shooter who just proved, in real time, that the misses hadn't changed her willingness to shoot. A defense reads body language, and Clark's body language never blinked. The third quarter explosion. If the first half was a slow-building standoff, the third quarter was where the fuse finally reached the powder. Clark exploded, scoring 16 of her 29 points in that single quarter alone. Between the two stars, Bueckers and Clark combined for 30 points on 11 for 15 shooting in the third quarter, a stretch of basketball so absurdly efficient it's almost hard to describe without sounding like an exaggeration. It wasn't an exaggeration. It happened. But numbers alone don't capture what was actually going on structurally. Bueckers was still solving problems after Indiana's defense had already made things difficult, elite, high degree of difficulty shot making under duress. Clark was doing something different. She was preventing the possession from becoming difficult in the first place. She was getting downhill before the defense could set. She was finding cutters before help could rotate. She was manufacturing advantages rather than overcoming disadvantages. Both are elite skills. But across 40 minutes, the second approach tends to put more cumulative strain on a defense, because it keeps dragging additional defenders into the equation possession after possession. Once Kelsey Mitchell gets a clean driving lane off a Clark-drawn double team, once a cutter slips behind a distracted help defender, once a weak side player has to guess whether to tag the drive or stay home, the star has pulled the entire lineup into the fight. And tired, panicked defenders in the fourth quarter make worse decisions than fresh ones in the first. That's the mechanism. Keep it in your head, because it's about to matter enormously. The injury scare that almost changed everything. Right in the middle of all this, there was a moment that could have completely rewritten the night. Clark went to the locker room briefly during the second quarter with an ankle tweak. For a few minutes, every person watching this game had the exact same thought: is this it? Is the takeover over before it even really started? It wasn't. She came back out for the third quarter and, if anything, played angrier. More decisive. More willing to attack. Whatever that ankle scare did to her mentally, it did not show up as hesitation on the floor. If you were holding your breath during that stretch, you weren't alone, but what came next made the wait worth it. The fourth quarter, where control changed hands. Here's the number that tells you almost everything you need to know about how this game actually ended. Indiana outscored Dallas 35-21 in the fourth quarter. That is not a close-the-door kind of margin. That is a complete structural collapse for one team and a complete structural takeover for the other, and it happened in the final 12 minutes, in front of a building that could feel the shift happening in real time. By this point, something had changed in how the ball moved through Clark's hands. Late in the game, when Indiana absolutely needed the right decision on every single possession, they put the ball in her hands and trusted her not just to shoot, but to decide. Should she shoot? Should she pass? Who should get it, and when? That is a different level of responsibility than simply being a scorer. There are players you hand the ball to because you want a shot. There are players you hand the ball to because you trust them to read the entire defense and choose the correct answer, whatever that answer turns out to be. In that fourth quarter, Clark was operating in the second category, and it showed. She finished the night with 10 assists to go with her 29 points, a double-double that tells you exactly how much of Indiana's offense ran directly through her hands, even on nights the shot wasn't always falling for her personally. Meanwhile, Dallas simply ran out of firepower. Bueckers had already spent so much of the game as the lone engine keeping her team afloat. Without reinforcements, remember, this was a short-handed roster, there was only so much one player could manufacture against a fever defense that was, by the fourth quarter, flying around with total confidence. Kelsey Mitchell was quietly excellent as well, finishing with 23 points and extending a personal streak of scoring at least 20 points in 18 consecutive games, the second longest streak of its kind in league history. Aaliyah Boston added a double-double of her own, muscling her way to points and rebounds in exactly the moments Indiana needed a second scoring option to take pressure off Clark. This was not a one-woman show for the Fever. It was a genuine team collapse of Dallas resistance, with Clark as the ignition point. Two stars, two completely different answers. So here is the real question this game leaves behind, and it's a far more interesting one than, who scored more. Paige Bueckers gave Dallas exactly what the fair criticism of her game has always demanded, full-blown, unapologetic aggression. She shouldered the burden of difficult shot creation on a night her roster had almost nothing else to offer. 29 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and a hand in half her team's total offense. That is a star performance in every sense of the word, and no final score should be allowed to erase it. Caitlin Clark gave Indiana something structurally different. Not just a scorer having a hot night, but an offensive engine whose gravitational pull reorganized an entire defense possession by possession, a cold shooting start that never once turned into hesitation, and a fourth quarter where she was trusted to make every single winning read. 29 points, 10 assists, and a defense left with no good options anywhere on the floor. Both are true. Both matter. And that's exactly why the final score, Indiana 98, Dallas 87, doesn't tell the whole story on its own. Two players hit the identical scoring total and produced completely different kinds of pressure, and it was the scalability of that pressure, not the raw point total, that finally decided the outcome once the fourth quarter arrived. This is also not the last time these two are going to share a court this year. Clark and Bueckers are set to team up, not face off, representing the United States at the FIBA World Cup next month in Berlin, pairing together in the same backcourt after spending the night trying to outduel each other. Even Clark, moments after the final buzzer, made a point of praising her rival directly, calling Bueckers a tremendous player. That's the rare kind of respect that only comes from two competitors who genuinely pushed each other to their absolute limit. So who actually won the individual battle? Here's the honest answer, and it's not a cop-out, it depends entirely on what you value. If you're building a team around a single isolation possession with the game on the line, you might lean toward Bueckers, that controlled, patient shot creation that can manufacture points out of nothing. If you're building around a possession where you need the defense to be wrong no matter what they choose, you might lean toward Clark, the kind of gravity that turns every single defender into a decision-maker with no good options. Both answers are defensible. Both stars proved something real about themselves on this exact night. And if this is the level these two are going to keep bringing every time they share a court, the next Clark vs. Bueckers matchup might be even bigger than this one. Which one are you taking with the game on the line? Drop your answer in the comments, and if you want more breakdowns like this one, where we go past the box score and actually explain what happened on the floor, subscribe now and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one.